Greetings and welcome, everyone, and a Happy New Year. This is Into the Nexus, the first episode of 2021. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, here as always, with the one, the only, my new Plat buddy, Kyle Fergusson.
Wait a minute. There needs to be some, I'm very proud of my diamond rank. Hang on. In a different world,
we just let it,
universe.
We just leave it there, and everyone can just take that as they will.
Okay. No, I got to advertise. No, we can't let the word get out that I've fallen so far. I put a lot of work into that account.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to be there long, man, if our trajectory continues. So don't worry.
Well, we got some things to talk about today. This is, by the way, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the previous episode. It was a lot of fun doing the AMA and whatnot, but we are back on the Heroes landscape. This is a Heroes podcast after all. So get ready for some Heroes of the Storm talk today.
Wait, did we get complaints? You sound like we got complaints.
No one complained. I heard nothing but nice things. But you know,
okay.
it's like when the characters change randomly for an episode and you're not sure if it's going to stay that way.
Oh, gotcha. No, it was the end of the year. It was Jack all to talk about. We want to have some fun.
Totally. It's like Stranger Things season 2, where there was like basically the X-Men showed up and it was going to be a spinoff. It was like really serious and kind of weird.
I love that you have finally seen Stranger Things, so that when I say season 2 is my least favorite season, you now know why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I catch up eventually.
That stuff farts off way too long. And here we are not talking about Heroes, Kyle. Right after you said we're back to talk about Heroes.
All right, well, things are back on track. I've been streaming again. I've been playing Heroes again. The holidays are over. Hades has been put to the side into the late night weekend sort of position. I am enjoying my Plat-tastic adventures with you, where I am playing Assassin. It was a lot of fun this week as we climbed to Plat-2 and sort of hit our plateau.
We did. We kissed Plat 1 and then lost and went right back to Plat 2.
Well, it was an interesting case because I think that through the low or high golds and the low plats, our macro was just fantastic. People couldn't deal with the camps we produced, the well-timed things we did before objectives, after objectives, made use of our objectives to get keeps and stuff and get catapults on the field. But in high plat, we hit a wall where basically the enemy team is doing all that stuff okay too.
I mean, we hit one game.
All our games were like 25 minutes. I think that really showed how good we were at macro, what our impact on the game was. But I can say for myself that I belong there.
Now, you know
as an assassin, oops, all gray main account, I belong in Plat. My skills could not carry us further in the team fight department.
What I find really interesting about all this, and you're totally right about that, by the way. I had forgotten about how hard fought the wins were. Like every game was about the same length and every game was really close in our most recent session. And, but where I was going with this is the thing about this that is impressing, delighting, and surprising me is how in step you and I are, because we hadn't been playing much together outside of Bonanzas up into this. And yet we're kind of just syncing up. And it's almost like we mentally examine this game together once a week.
I'd say that's where it lies, right? And I brought it up briefly, but I am playing nothing but Greymane just because I feel like he does so many jobs so well. And you're in the solo lane doing Sonias and Rexars and Malthiels and having some pick diversity, which is nice.
Dude, I can't tell you how nice it has been to get to play as many Malthiel games as I've gotten to play since we've started queuing up together. And
he's fun.
Yeah, he's just so relaxing. It's just, I think Kyle, this is just now dawning on me, and I want your take on this. I think Malthiel is melee Rainer. It's just because once you get a couple very basic control attributes down, you can pilot this hero, and so the hero just becomes purely about decision making.
Okay, I've got an odd hero analogy for you. Actually, one in the Diablo universe. He is a lot like Ariel. He's a damaged version of Ariel in a sense. Because if you are getting kited and poked and can't access the front line, you are just going to have a horrible, horrible time.
Oh, you're talking about Malthael.
Yeah.
Yes.
And both are. I mean, you like, I am building a preference where I don't want to take Malthael into Hanzo. It's just too much poke. It's so hard to interact with him. And we all know that feeling, right? Maybe the tank is dead over there. You got rid of the Garrosh. Nice job. But now you're just slowly walking towards the enemy team being like, come on, someone step in my shroud.
Yeah. Yeah, which you can get creative. You can snag them every once in a while. But yeah, it is tough, right? Because yesterday, what was it? It was the Kira that was just giving me a hard time. It was really good about just not getting marked by me, but hitting me with all our ranged damage over time BS. It was just like every time, it felt like every time I needed to go fight, I was healing up from Kira poking.
Well, Kira definitely has some power creep in the range of a melee assassin. I mean, think about that hook shot, that utility belt business, the spin, the Q that does the carnage. Is that what it's called?
Not a hero I've spent enough time with to have committed abilities to memory. So, excuse me while I Google carnage in the background.
But all those abilities, like compared to, the range of cleave on Zeratul, perhaps, the range of a dash on Illidan, the Kerrigan pull, she's got a lot. She's got a lot going on. She is a 2020 Magic card compared to a 90s Magic card.
That is fair.
There's a lot of text in those boxes.
But we've seen that a lot with
totally.
Heroes of the Storm, right? Kira's not the only hero that has been like, oh my goodness, look at this movement and kit creep at the end of the day, or range creep. We've seen this across many heroes across many years, and yet we still find reasons to go back and visit older, moldier, less movement-enabled heroes. But
to your point,
I don't
that
want to get me down too much, but yeah.
To your point that we're gelling, I do think we're gelling in the most simple way possible, which is off lane and guy who can do camps and cover a lane, like Greymane.
We are
because
empowering
in that
each
way,
other. Yeah.
We rotate. We can revolve around the other three randos and make sure all the stuff is getting done. And by nature of having good macro, we report on time. Therefore, the off lane and the off lane, right, or maybe the solo lane and the off lane, are both converging on the team. And whatever we do works. We're not doing something crazy and low impact, for instance, like Light Bomb, Anduin, and Johanna Falling Sword. Not that that itself is a bad combo or that it would be low impact, but look at the requirement on the rest of the three to do something in that regard. We could land perfect Deckard Sleeps and Diablo Apox, but we would still require someone else to back it up.
Yeah, and yet I'm now also, it didn't happen in our most recent session, but it's important to remember the last few, every other session up until yesterday, I have had to tank at least once, if not multiple times. So I am having to you're getting out of your comfort zone on Greymane, but I guess I have to imagine it's starting to feel more comfortable to you because it's basically all you've been playing.
It's getting there. It is really, really hard managing two different stutter steps. I think it was Ken Eric came on the show and he said the hardest game or hero to play is Raynor because you have to know two stutter steps. But that one is so infrequent. Inner Beast is constantly proccing, constantly important. Raynor hits Inspire and you're like, you go Raynor. you did it, champ. You're going to have what, 20% more DPS? I don't have the math in my head, but Greymane is a 50% attack increase, and you will ruin every stutter step when you're messing up those two. Plus, my cursed bullet is 100% plat, if not gold level aiming. That thing leaf in the winds through entire enemy teams. And it is small. It is a bullet, so I'll give it that. It's very small.
Yeah, it's not called it's not called silver dodgeball. It's called silver bullets.
It's semi-needed. I'm still a little. That's why I'm a Plat Gray main, because there's still a lot I don't understand. Because the bullet goes into the tank, but I'm not supposed to target the tank.
But that's funny you mention that, because that's how many damn times have we gone? Are we a front to back comp? Yes, it's working really well for us.
It's true, and
all of the things that we've leveraged, like so far, your focus has been on the fact that we're covering all the bases. Just gonna pause for a second. I paused recording.
Sorry. My cat was sleeping in the closet, and he had a very perilous journey out of it.
Oh goodness!
So I was trying to figure out what was going on. All right, Mr. Kitty, you're out of here. All right, here's the kitty there after the show, everybody.
Bye, Karth. YouTube and Twitch audience, you get to see this. I will cut this out of the audio version because that's easy to do. I just hit pause, and then I'll just do a little deleting and move on with my life. Oh God!
Like I don't even know where he sleeps in there. Honestly, he's gone in there the past 2 days, and maybe I think he gets inside the old Flynn's old car seat, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, I paused the audio recording so we can pick up and.
Cool. Yeah. Whatever you were saying, I missed it.
What I was going to say was, so that's the other thing. Is so far everything that you've talked about in how we're gelling is that we're kind of covering the basic bases, like the macro game. We're making sure XP is not getting left behind. We're making sure camps hit more or less when they should. Not that we're doing perfect rotations, mind you. Like you and I are just like, objectives should be relatively soon. Let's just go grab a camp. And that alone is enough to really help us out and really get the map working in our favor. What I think that the cherry on top of this that's really clicking for us is that we're capitalizing on less than stellar targeting by the other random members of teams, because a lot of damage is going into the front line, and you're already on gray main, and we're already seeing a lot of double front line, if not in some cases triple front line comps being drafted across from us, and I have a big fat desire to play Malthael right now, and so we're just... The fact that damage is already going into the front line of the enemy team, and then you and I are able to actually finish that off, I think that's what's really putting us up over the top at the moment.
Well, and it's just a delightful learning experience. I have a tank main account, and I can assure you that anytime anyone sees, even without the symbol by them, checks an account that has a higher win rate on tank, you are playing tank forever. So just the ability to play a little Zul'jin. I'd love to play a little bit of Tychus in there. But mostly I just want to play things that I don't get to normally, like Greymane. I've always loved this kid. I think, I've complained about Incendiary Elixir enough. I'm good there.
Yeah. So it's just been fascinating. This isn't the first time you and I have tried playing together, but we've never clicked like this before. So it's just been nice. It turns out winning's fun, Kyle.
Well, that too. Certainly there is a lot of conversation going around about the morals of those wins. And I do think that we have quickly found our right spot, and we are going to struggle in high plat as I learn all those various lessons about why I should target and how to aim a cursed bullet correctly.
Yeah, because I definitely left our most recent session winded. But I felt good. But the majority, let's see, because what all did I play? The majority of the games I had to safety soak. Like, it was laborious. But we got there.
That is the Malthael way.
Well, I also had to do that on that Braxis game where I actually got my dream scenario, which is get to play Rexar on Braxis, but the opposing team got a Gazlo, and that Gazlo was just setting up. And that was another one where it was like, okay, this is going to be work. And it was, but eventually we got there. But that's definitely where, but this is cool, right? Like, we don't just want to be like blindly winning. Like, as fun as that is, whatever. Haha, memery, I don't know, what were we yeet? That was what we were yelling yeet for the last 2 weeks, Kyle. We just
the whole time.
Just want to yeet through some wins. I don't think I'm using that word correctly, but like whatever the case is, like I'm now learning that I need to respect my opponents because we found our equal matchups.
Yeah, and good on the system to get us there so quickly with so few games played.
Yeah, because we're not slamming games every week. We're like playing we have like one good session a week, maybe two.
Yeah, we get about maybe 4 games max in doing this sort of business. But
yeah,
we are covering the ongoing Smurf conversations that are happening over on Reddit. Right now, they are still in the usual phase, the monthly phase. I would love to get some data that we can talk about, and maybe we'll discuss that in the future as we start to figure out what's going on. But right now, we're going to dodge that conversation for this week. It's just the usual.
There's nothing new to discuss, right? Like there hasn't been a major shakeup in the game in any way. We haven't even had a balance update, let alone anything on the level of an anomaly or a new hero since Hogger, which I realize Hogger is relatively fresh, but we all kind of know what Hogger does. We ban Hogger, or we lament the fact that we're now facing a Hogger on the opposing side. And this does tend to be the trend of community focus in Heroes of the Storm, is that when there's not a new puzzle to solve and discuss, the discussion turns back to smurfing. And
I think each game has its own topic. I'm sure World of Warcraft during its slower times immediately falls into its old discussions.
Yeah, I guess it's usually vanilla was better.
But they have proof now.
Yes, but no, Kyle, they don't, because that's not real vanilla.
Oh,
that's
how foolish of me.
Yeah, that's your grocery store brand vanilla ice cream made with seaweed instead of real dairy products or whatever it is they put in fake ice cream. There's an analogy there somewhere.
I was down. I was shopping at Whole Foods recently. I feel you.
Now I just want Ben & Jerry's. That's all I came out of that little analogy with.
Outside of those sort of stories, my journeys of the week have mostly been relearning how to APOC combo Diablo. It was funny how much that skill waned during Gladiator's Medallion. Honestly, it's such an important skill, one I've known about for a very, very long time, but one that I haven't really trusted my teammates to invest in. The idea of putting my heroic out, having to charge somebody and put them back on, now costing me 3 abilities, including the heroic. It's a little spooky to pull off in hopes that someone else is going to follow me up. But as I continue to work towards that master's goal, it is a skill that has taken me some time. The movement speed change delayed that a little bit because I messed up those timings. I felt like I was finally getting okay at it, and then Gladiator's Medallion hits, and it's just completely counterable. And now I'm back on that horse, finally landing those things and feeling pretty good about it. Beyond that, the only really interesting thing I've heard this week is that Ice Fury Wand is now meta. If you're not familiar with that ability, this is the level 7 talent for Jaina. Basic attacks against chilled heroes deal 100% more damage and lower the cooldown of Blizzard by 2.5 seconds. So this is officially cool to use.
Pun intended?
Yeah, I guess so. Unintentional. I mean, it's still up against like Ice Lance, which is that cooldown reduction. A lot of people like the melee Jaina Ice Flows business, but Ice Fury Wand has taken the lead by about 5% win rate. And I expect it'll continue to climb in pick rate over the other 2 in the coming weeks.
Yeah. This is really good build diversity on Jaina, especially at level 7. We're approaching pretty damn close to equal pick rates between Ice Lance, Ice Flows, and Ice Fury Wand. The most obvious thing, the second you look at it, is the fact that Ice Fury Wand is the only talent on the tier with a higher than 50% win percentage. Ice Lance and Ice Flows are both tied at 48%, and Ice Fury Wand is sitting there at 53 and change. So it's working out. It's still the lesser picked, but it's really close. It is like neck and neck with pick rate.
I'm really curious what they're going to do with Hogger. Everything in the world is saying Hogger is OP if you can play him, and most people can't. And that's not a diss. Like I too would rather have a last rites hit than a Hogger do whatever he does, horde upholding perfectly to get a kill. So we've entered a frustrating time for a lot of players where our top end tournament players, grandmasters, are telling us things that are OP and crushing that aren't viable in our home games. A lot like things like Genji or Medivh. But we all are able to take that and swallow that pill because their win rates are so low that we can say, well, absolutely, they must be hard to play. Well done.
So Hogger is this anomaly where it's difficult to play, but bringing home the win rates even in Storm League.
Exactly. So I think everyone's kind of looking at least some sort of nerf for Hog Wild coming up. I'm still putting my money on the 19th. This matches last year's rotation of patches. We had to wait a long time for Deathwing to get balanced. And I don't think for like advertising sake, for just casual play of the game, that letting a new hero simmer for that long is necessarily bad. I don't think that there's anything villainous that the game designers do on their end. I don't think they sit there and, listen to the bills go in their ears while they go, oh, I love releasing OP heroes that feel so good. No. But no one wants to buy a underperforming hero. And in this time of year, with COVID in the background, people working from home, I fully expect that this is just going to last a long time.
I agree. And if we were to simplify for the sake of this conversation and say your binary options are release the hero overpowered, release the hero underpowered, I would rather have it overpowered, shake some things up, even if that shakeup is going to start to feel like the norm because it's going to be here for more than 4 weeks. So be it. That's more interesting to me. And we can try and keep it in check in draft.
Agreed.
So that's where I land. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think we're gonna get a shakeup next week. Do you think there's anything in the back of their mind going, let's wait till CCL finals are over?
No.
You don't think there's like a kernel? Just a kernel?
The difficulty is a lot like content creation, I'm sure. When you work on a video game, your knowledge of fandoms about your video game are probably a lot lower than the consumer side of things. So while they might, head over to a service like Heroes Profile and look at the CCL profiles in there and be like, oh, look at the win rates on these various things. That's interesting. Maybe I should do something about it. I highly doubt any of them know the particulars of what happened in every game. It is just too taxing for content creators and video game designers to absorb that much content.
I have to imagine it's a thought in somebody's head.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that in a perfect world with a infinite staff, it would be really good to have a dramaturg in a sense. A historian. They've done that for World of Warcraft, I guess. They hire historians. But are they writers? I've never really understood what they do.
Fictitious historians?
Yeah.
And I'm not making a call, by the way. I've always fallen on the side, and we haven't had this talk in here since HGC ended, but I've always fallen on the side of, if you think a change needs to be made, just make it, because it's a change for everyone. And I realize that not everyone agrees with that on the esports side of things, that they'd rather change its weight until, major tournament dates are done and over with. But I've always been like, whatever, if it changes for everyone. Everyone has to adapt to it. I'm simply just saying that I have to imagine it's come across somebody's mind on the Heroes team.
Sure. It would be on my mind if I were to press the button that says go on a balance patch, because I wouldn't want to upset my top end players who are then going to disperse their feelings amongst everybody who parrots them.
Yeah. I think that's well said. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't wait to say we were right or we were wrong.
That's a good way to put it. And I can't wait to say what our guest is next week.
Oh yes, yeah. We have a guest next week, and you just confirmed it. So by all means, as the person who put in the work of booking the guest, who's coming on next week, Kyle?
Next week, we're going to have Mike Udall on the show. If it's a balanced patch, well, he's certainly a pro at Storm League, and we'll enjoy talking to him about that and how his team 30K is going to be shooken up by that patch. But if it's not, we're just going to hang out about Heroes of the Storm, its life since HGC, the rise of CCL, and of course, what's happening over in that CCL as it reaches its playoffs and into the finals.
I'm looking forward to chatting with him.
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah. So, dude's been tweeting at us a lot. Finally going to get him on. It's about time.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. But I also want to take that opportunity to say thank you to the patrons who allow us to have such fabulous guests on and support them and compensate them for their time.
Which we do, which we didn't used to be able to do, but thanks to your support, we can now do that. So if you want to help us keep doing that and also help us keep doing this show, check out patreon.com/ITN. And we got quite a few new patrons over the holiday break, Kyle, which just warms my heart because it's the holiday break. I get it. I understand. But thank you so much, everybody. So I'm going to go with Simon DeMaio. Thank you very much. Dominic Briceboy, John McClellian, and RKIVS, Archives. I don't know how to pronounce everybody's handle sometimes, Kyle. They throw me for loops.
I just go with Kivs.
Kivs. Okay.
Yeah.
Archives.
Sometimes we just, ride the French of things and just bail on a couple letters.
Yeah. But thank you, everybody, for your support. And we appreciate it. Go check it out. Patreon.com/ITN. Come join our Discord. Come sign up for our monthly game nights. And get yourself some other perks. But anyways, Kyle, let's get into what the community's been talking about in this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes, I'd mana tap that.
So there was an interesting conversation being had on the Reddit this week, which was talking about how quick match over the break kind of just felt like brawl because there aren't a lot, if any, of tanks or healers being played. And this post was mostly talking about how can we incentivize people to play tanks and healers in quick match. And the original post was kind of framed in the direction of like giving more bonus XP, putting more of a carrot on the end of the stick. Original post is called "How much XP bonus would you need to play tank/heal in QM?" So go check that out if you want. We have a link in the show notes. But what was particularly interesting was a reply by Reddit user Warsage that essentially said, in their opinion, the biggest impediment to playing tank and healer is the inability to clear waves. That's fascinating, and I think it's kind of, it doesn't really grind with my brain at all in terms of healer, but tank, I go, wait a minute, there's plenty of tanks with wave clear. But then I had to take a break and take a step back, Kyle, and go, wait, what's my definition of plenty?
Yeah, and you listed them here. You got Blaze, Johanna, and Stitches.
Yeah, and hold on, let me make a formatting adjustment to Stitches. So I just did a strike through because Stitches is not a tank.
Oh, I see. I see.
We don't have a tank if there's a Stitches and no one else.
There was a cute idea I saw this week about Stitches being able to allied gorge, and that would help him be a tank.
That would be cool and flavorful as hell. And I'm not just talking what your allies taste like.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Certainly, it would quickly find its way one way or another in the opinions of the audience. I don't know if I'd want to be repositioned in some of my better moments. It's always kind of scary.
Works for Anduin.
But you could pop, something like Maelstrom and Stitches eats you. And now there's no ability at all. What'd be cool is if things like Maelstrom and Tormented Soul kept going, and so you had a Stitches who was putting out death shrouds and stuff.
I was thinking you pause it, and then so when you come out, it picks up at whatever amount of time was left on the ability when you win it.
That'd be interesting. I know that right now it is not a time stop, so you are like Maw losing duration in there.
Yeah, well, Maw is something you do to enemies, so you would want that upside, whereas if Stitches was gorging friendlies to save their lives. That would be an upside. And to me, it makes sense. I mean, you can have a balanced discussion, of course, but I think there's an argument for pausing the timer.
It would be a nice caveat. And I'm sure the Blizz designers would just say, oh my goodness, we gave you helping hook already. What more do you need? Why would you use your heroic to do this? But it's a cute idea. Anyway, moving back to the conversation.
Yes.
It is very interesting. And I do think there is a snowball effect in the, oh gosh, I'm going to say it, player education that something like this could aid in. I just don't know how far we would want to go, what direction it would take, if it would be like a quick match anomaly kind of level of things where tanks have more lane clear. They basically get an affix like Johanna has on her old Knights takes pawn and moved into condemn. That tanks just have an ability that helps lane clear. Diablo's Flame Stomp does more lane clear inside of quick match. The real problem is that people learn the game through quick match and then they start to explore their avenues as they collect heroes. The correct way to play a tank is never to be seen, for the most part. To be warding, to be looking around for the enemy, and not hanging out in lanes where the enemy knows they're perfectly safe from all your beautiful CC, and knows what angle you're going to take as that lane falls. You're revealed for a moment as you start to ride top on Cursed Isle. They know you're on your way. There's just a lot of problems that arise when a tank is in lane. But they're constantly covering lanes because people don't stop team fighting.
Yes. And that's an interesting part, right? Because I don't think this comment is off base at all, talking about the lack of wave clear on both the tank and the healer role. But how much of that is by design, right? Like, there should
Absolutely
be limitations.
On the healer. We went through a whole time where that became the thing.
Yes, there should be intentional limitations and weak points in what each role brings to the team, right? And then also subdivide that between the entire roster of a role. Because we have, 13 tanks? Should all of them have wave clear? And that's not necessarily what this commenter was putting forward, but if you're going to make what I think is an interesting general statement, that lack of lane clear is a big negative and a big kind of deterrent to wanting to fill these roles. Well, how much of this roster should actually even be able to do that, if any? Because it certainly seems like healer, they don't want them to lane clear. Period.
Right. Which makes sense. We went through a time where that was more possible. It wasn't amazing, but it was more possible due to their damage numbers. And that, of course, led to double support times and off-lane supports who can feel invincible. But look at comparison, something like our bruiser creep, and why CCL players and tournament players are really starting to do double bruiser comps and just skipping the tank entirely. Their survivability is insane. Their lane clear is great. Their health is great. Their damage is great. So in our home games, we might need an ETC to hit a power slide so we all know what we're going to attack. But when we can actually coordinate on the same target, Imperius is perfect. He has the big holdup of bad lane clear, though, which makes him interesting in that draft environment. I don't want to enter a world where Vala clears as fast as Jaina either. It's absolutely part of how the whole draft system goes and how you can analyze and win a game outside your opponents. I hear constantly from Cavalier Guest in our Heroes Lounge practices that we don't ever team fight. It's a really sad thing to hear because you're like, well, I like the team fights, but there are comps like a Johanna Tomb of the Spider Queen comp where if we just clear faster than them the entire game and never pick a fight, we're never going to lose any gems. We turn in over and over again and they're locked out. But it's not as fun as the other idea.
Yeah. And that's where I think you can continue to have this conversation, right? Especially if the focus is on quick match, because I think the fun is just going to outweigh so much in a mode like quick match, right? Like, you're there because you want to do something very specific. Because if you didn't, like, if you really cared about having a balanced composition, you wouldn't be playing in this mode in the first place. If that was your most important concern, was having a proper roster heading into a game, you would go draft. But you're not drafting, you're in quick match. So there's a part of you, there's an inherent selfish buy-in, I think, to quick match to begin with, which I don't think is a bad thing. There's a reason it's the most played mode.
Right. And I want to immediately eject from this conversation the friends conundrum, which is that you play quick match, you invite your friends to play quick match with you, and you have a bad time, and now your friends don't want to play this game. I don't think we can fix that part of it with lane clear or anything else.
You're playing against real people. You want to guarantee you have a good time, go to AI.
Right, go play Vermintide or something like that and put it to a low difficulty if you want to crush. It is interesting, though, for those who do want to learn the game, who look at a comp and say, man, our tank wasn't that good, or could I play tank better? And you grab something like Mal'Ganis, and you end up covering a lane for a little bit because you know it's important because you've read guides. And you just go, wow, this sucks. This is boring. Should I adapt my build? Should I pick up something like Echoes so I do a little bit of more lane clear? How long am I going to be here? Is this how I should play the game? This is just not fun. And I absolutely see that side of things. People aren't evolving off of the flashy Kael'thas's and maybe even Kiros and the like, and Asmodans that feel good in quick match. Because the second they switch to healer or tank, because they saw one that worked or they wanted to try it out, the feeling is just bad. And now they know they need to take camps. They know they need to clear that lane. They know they shouldn't team fight. And so that anxiety and anger starts building and building. And lo and behold, quick match becomes a toxic place because of this.
So what is the solution? Do we need a solution?
It's an interesting conundrum because someone has to lose, right?
Yes. But how much off the beaten path are we getting, though? Like, bringing it back to the tanks and the healers and the lack of lane clear, where does the balance lie?
And it's not in rules. We had a game earlier, you and I, in quick match, where we had an Ana and they had a Morales. And with no tank and no reliable CC, we couldn't stop Morales' healing, and she healed 3 times the Ana. And while the Ana was a little salty, and that did cause us to be like, come on now, Ana. She was aiming at what? A Vala, a Zagara. Her biggest target was the Zagara and the Gazlo. Like, there was nothing that was really going to stand still for her for a long time. Morales' ease of execution compared to Ana's simply caused the enemy team to wipe us out. And we did a good job. We played tower defense. We were in that castle for a long time and made it last 25, 30 minutes. But there was no way we were going to win that. So the answer is not to stack on ridiculous rules like, oh man, well, we can't ever have a Morales go up against a Kharazim or Ana because their healing numbers are going to be so much lower. Then we're dividing people into like damage tiers and like, well, we couldn't possibly autopilot a Kael'thas into an Orphea because he's easier to play. That's where I hit the wall on this conversation, because quick match is going to be quick match no matter what we do, unless we impose hard comp rules, which did not work with people's queue sensibilities in the past.
And even if like they did, there'd still be concerns, right? Like even back when they were trying to have every game have a healer and a tank, like we're having a conversation about lane clear right now. What would happen if you got, good lane clear tank versus bad lane clear tank in that system? There's still a measurable deficit that's going to piss somebody off.
Well, and look how confusing it can be just in a simple comp change up like Gul'dan Raynor. That's something I struggle with on tank. I don't really understand that damage output when I'm constantly playing with Mage Sustain, where the front is damage, and then you have the Raynor deal damage along the way while you try not to die. But when you're fighting with 2 sustains, it's like, when do I go in? Where's the explosive moment that makes me go, yes, allow me to charge?
Here we go. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But I think this is all why I enjoy the framing device of having this conversation with lane clear. I don't think it's the end all be all. Obviously, that there are other factors to consider, right? But like my brain goes, I like that healers don't have lane clear. We gave healers lane clear. It was a major problem. But what about tanks? Because if it really is Blaze Johanna Stitches, that have anything in the realm of decent lane clear. Well, there's 13 tanks. 3 of them, 2.5, have good lane clear. Can we spread that out a little bit more?
I wouldn't want an augment, an affix, a change to tanks and supports to make them deal more damage in quick match environments. But it would be interesting to have quick match exclusive talents. That would go very much along the way of how Dota's level up system works, where you can choose between increasing one of your abilities or raw stats. If I am solo Uther, healer and tank in quick match, and I had the option to pick plus 500 health instead of some wave of light thing that's going to increase healing output, that wouldn't be a bad option. I could augment myself. I could get more lane clear on a tank if I wanted it. Now, of course, I'm asking balance designers from my understanding of why pool party doesn't exist and the random brawls don't come back. Every time they balance, they have to somehow copy paste those into the other modes. And they would have to balance, probably by data entry hand, all those heroes' talents again for quick match. So it's not an efficient way to go about things.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one. 'Cause I don't think quick match is a great way to practice, but it is. You can somewhat practice, right?
Yeah, it's a great way to learn your limitations, and that's something I got to talk to Kira about in my last Heroes Hearth video. I got to interview him about his Zeratul, and he was basically saying do a cleave build with Might of the Arazim so you can lane clear, so that you're useful to the team, but always push your limits as you're learning that hero. Constantly go in and just see how you can trade, but then go back to lane clear so nobody hates you. As you slowly improve and you learn that you can 1v1 an Orphea, no problem, for instance, that's when you move to a more blink-based build, maybe even auto-attack-based build on Zeratul and get away from all the cleave talents.
I like the idea of get crazy, but pay your taxes.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it, yeah. Just do your homework first before you have fun.
Go out on your front lawn and scream so your neighbors think you're weird, but then, just make sure you're also paying your bills on time.
Okay. I don't think the screaming, I think, is paying the taxes part of being left alone.
Fair.
You can purposely act like a weirdo, and your benefit is nobody talks to you in the grocery line.
Too many analogies entering my head, and I'm just gonna pull out of this nosedive. So
sounds good.
Before we leave, I would like to look at tanks and say, do you think there's anyone else that any other tanks we could shore up their lane clear? Because there's 2 obvious ones where I think their lane clear should be better than it is just because of the way that their kit works, and I'm surprised they're not more efficient at lane clear.
Who's that?
Diablo and Arthas.
Oh, just because they're stomping on it, auring on it. They're touching it in some way that makes it seem like it should be dying.
They're doing a lot of AoE damage. Why aren't they doing enough AoE damage to lane?
It's an interesting thought. I've been on a bit of a Meitai raid recently, but only in 2-lane maps because I hate her lane clear so much.
That's a good point too. And there's a hero that has Blizzard, which is like, although I mean, Blizzard does help you with the lane clear, and you can make it work, but you don't want to because Blizzard is so important and such an integral piece of your team fighting kit.
Right. There's also elements there of why I'm taking Mei on 2-lane maps, and that's my team is almost always 4 stacked right behind me and watching where I am, whereas in 3-lane maps, I'm always having to move around and get weird, and there's lots and lots of space for people to dodge the blizzard. Granted, something like Hanamura, plenty of room to dodge a blizzard, but the focus of everyone watching me allows that blizzard to be more impactful. There are certainly things like for mana exchange could feel better like a Nubarak. If you let's say, you're a smart person, you're watching the mini map, 5 people in the top, nothing bad's happening, but you know where the whole enemy team is, and you're going to burrow charge, impale, and shield to put out a bunch of beetles. And that lane goes about as slow as anything, as slow as that Arthas would. So per point of mana, is there something we can do in there? Now, of course, some heroes have talents like ETC's Echo Pedal, which is great. It's very late. It's really tough to say, I'll be good at level 7 for my team allow me to start looking at maybe a stage dive build to compensate for this lack of lane clear?
Yeah, and that's where it gets weird, right? So do we start to come back around to, well, maybe no tank should have strong lane clear?
Well,
or is it okay that there's just a small handful that are decent at it?
We don't want homogenization, and that's what makes Heroes so cool. And I love that Stitches has the lane clear, but it's tied to what I would say is a non-essential ability. And Blaze has lane clear, but it's tied to his control, yet doesn't take his stun. So again, we can kind of say that's non-essential ability. But when I look at something like Condemn, that would be Johanna's primary engage. There's something interesting there. That she is spending that ability, that it is on cooldown should she choose to do lane clear with it. So what if we gave that option to someone like Garrosh? What if Garrosh could use Wrecking Ball for lane clear when he threw just a minion? We take a valuable cooldown away from a hero in order to give them that ability.
So then where does it really become like a non-choice? Because you have May where you just, Blizzard could help you, but you don't do it. But on Johanna, it's okay to condemn.
Sure.
That's where I find the interesting question that I don't know the answer to. Like, why is it that condemn is just that efficient that it is worth putting it on cooldown for the clear that it brings versus May's Blizzard? Is it the cooldown difference? I actually don't know what it is off the top of my head. I'm Googling in the background. But
well, I think too, something like Sin's Expose being a level 4 talent means that Johanna can mark all the targets, increase the damage, and land that big condemn that causes the bonus damage. You could also do something easier without taking multiple cooldowns, like Eternal Retaliation, which a lot of people swear by in the mid and low leagues, just to keep condemning over and over again when you're hitting all those targets on Tomb of the Spider Queen. So it luckily for us, the game is complex. And this is an interesting conversation because it is so puzzled. But I would be very curious to see if they could shore those up. Now, on the healer side of things, we've been there. It's an issue. I think that Rhaegar's lane clear is okay. And he suffers from a lot of zoning out, lack of healing compared to others that keep him in check. I don't think the supports necessarily need it. And I don't think support players want it. If I'm coming from something like World of Warcraft, where you have to beg and plead your healers to throw out a smite every once in a while. Please, DPS the boss. I'm healing. I was, well, the boss would die sooner if we all wanded in this regard.
I have no idea if this is a thing in WoW right now. But I get your point.
It might be an older thing.
I get your point. I get your point nonetheless. Yeah. It's complex, right? It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because we talk so much about quick matches being like, you're going there because you want to have fun, right? And like, I don't think of wave clear as fun, but I do think of mitigating frustration by lack of wave clear and being empowered to do so, helping in the pursuit of fun.
Right.
So it's a lot of indirect concepts we're covering right now.
And I absolutely see where this poster was coming from, that this could be the birth of frustration. This is why people don't want to play quick match.
Yeah.
And it's fair.
I think it's definitely part of it, for sure. So, interesting nonetheless. But CCL, Kyle, changing gears. CCL is hitting the playoffs this weekend. The one of 2 weekends of semifinals into the finals, I believe. And it's been going on for quite a while, but now that we're kind of getting to the end here, I have a feeling a lot more people are gonna perk up, put some eyeballs on this.
Sure.
And so yeah, it's looking like, so this is the first weekend of the playoffs. We're gonna have 2 days of games, and then we're gonna take a break until the next weekend where we'll get into the second weekend of the semifinals. And then we'll take one more break to get to the grand finals, which it looks like will include the losers finals, and then whoever wins that gets bracketed against whoever came in from the winners finals. the week before. So I was curious because, there's a good amount of these names I recognize. Some of them I don't remember as much. And I wanted to kind of give our listeners at home the why they should care rundown.
I like it.
Because I love a good storyline in esports, and I don't always think it's as obvious as I'd like it to be. But there is so much HGC pedigree spread across all of the rosters that are about to face off just this weekend. And there's 3 more teams that are already seeded that we're not going to see for 2 weekends. But this weekend alone, if you're unfamiliar with how they're doing this, we're kicking it off with 2 teams playing against each other, and then based on the season record of each team, 3 more teams are already waiting in the semis here, in the wings. So starting off at the lowest end of their record for the season, Granite Gaming is going to play Chili Mountain, the winner of which will then go against Simplicity. The winner of that will then go against Sidestep Kings, and the winner of that will play against 30K, the winner of which will be seeded into the actual semis against Crowd Control. Wildheart and Oxygen are already bracketed against each other, but we're not going to see that game until January 16th, or that match. So, as to why you should care, back to that HGC pedigree, there is an absolute ton of it. So Granite, who we're going to see this weekend, Bad Benny of Method and Fnatic fame back in the HGC days is the head coach. And then we also have Nick, we have Nintori, and we have Henning, all of which played in HGC across Team Expert, Method, Scythe Esports, and Singularity Esports. And that's just one team. So there's a lot there if you're an old HGC fan. Chili Mountain, Schwimpy is the coach. It's owned by Chillrog, as you were mentioning during the pre-show. We have Make, who played for Monkey Menagerie in HGC, Dark Chimera, who was on LFM Esports in HGC, and Dark Mock, who was on Granite Gaming in HGC.
Interestingly enough, yeah.
But now on Chili Mountain. Yeah. There's actually quite a few old school Granite Gaming roster members spread across other teams that are not Granite Gaming now. Then we also have Simplicity, whose head coach Yuge previously coached Galeforce Esports. We have a ton of Team Freedom alums with Lutano, Killazion, and Cure, all of which had been previously on Team Freedom at various points of HGC. And Team Freedom was 3rd place NA, I think, in the final season of HGC. So we were, cheering for them here. And then also their flex player Hosty was on Simplicity's original team in the 2018 HGC season. And then Sidestep Kings, if you're unaware, is owned by Fan. A lot of people probably already aware of that. But then Caterpillar played for Complexity and Tempo Storm. Jun played for Tempo Storm from 2017 until HGC ended. Kyocha was on the team that was our final world champions, MVP Black, and the 2017 champion team, which was still KSV Black before they changed sponsorship, but it was basically the same roster. So back-to-back world champs there. And then Hyde on Sidestep was on Tempest from 2016 until HGC ended in 2018. And then finally 30K, owned by Michael Udall. We're going to talk to him next week. Hasawabs is on 30K, which Kyle, you and I remember from our StarCast days as a Protoss player in StarCraft 2. Before that, played in Warcraft 3, I believe, as an Undead player. And then played for Team Liquid in Heroes of the Storm from 2017 until HGC ended. BBJ was on Hero Hearth's team during HGC's final season. Fury played for LFM Esports and Galeforce Esports across their career. And then Ty used to play on Granite. And he's also had really consistently good results in Heroes Hype. So just a ton of old school Heroes of the Storm esports pedigree here across just this first weekend.
It will be good to see it narrow down and start to, as funny and sad as that may be to say, focus on the teams. I have been looking at the CCL as an opportunity to see particular heroes be played. And I am laser focused on those certain heroes when they are picked. And they pique my curiosity. I feel like I haven't really gotten to know the teams over the course of the CCL. And that's just my view as a consumer of it. Certainly a casual consumer of it, because I look for in advance the type of games that I'm then going to invest in. I look at the YouTube, I say, went only 3 games. Well, must have not been a very good series. I'll skip that one. Oh, but this one went all 5. Let me invest in that one. I want to make sure I caveat all those statements because I know these teams have been working really hard to showcase their personality, showcase their players, do player interviews. It just hasn't been received by me as a casual consumer. So it's a cheat to say, oh, I can't wait to see what they do next season. How are they going to improve that? No, the downtime has been awesome and short. They've had great analysis with Bahamut, gaining the chair in the casting, as well as keeping Grubby and, frankly, I forget his name at the moment, our Overwatch caster.
Doa.
Working the desk. Yeah, Doa. Keeping that going. It's been a great production.
I think what you're experiencing is pretty damn common, I think, in any sort of competition, especially, not that, I was going to say, especially if you're new to it, but not necessarily new to it, but this is a new competition, right? Like these are, for the most part, completely changed rosters from what we're used to. The only one that like looks somewhat similar to a roster we knew before is Simplicity, because so much of that roster came from Team Freedom. But anytime you're, I think, getting into a competition for any sort of competitive, be it sport or what have you, that you're interested in, you're probably going to gravitate towards what you're familiar with. And so I think in Heroes of the Storm, that is heroes, right? When we first started watching StarCraft 2 esports, all 10 years ago, Kyle, when we started podcasting together, you and I gravitated to players that played the races that we liked playing. I think the same thing is here for Heroes of the Storm. And that probably... I don't have a baseball analogy for you, Kyle, unless you played baseball, which I'm pretty sure you didn't, because you're like me. You're about as coordinated as a bat in daylight. But, like I when I first started following Formula Drift, I was rooting for cars that were cars I knew or have owned. I knew jack about the drivers, but now I root for the drivers because like I know their story. I've followed it long enough, so I think over time. And especially, I think now that we have fewer teams to worry about, you're going to start to glom onto the stories and the storylines and the personalities behind the keyboard.
And I do like that it has been a very team-friendly turn. That is to say, though, that it can be really hard to follow. The group stage was about points. And it was a very, one-to-one kind of point. You won a game, you got a point, or you won a match, you got a point. It wasn't that big of a complex deal. But man, I know they all hate it. I know players hate single elimination, but it is just so smooth. It's so understandable. I'm like, oh, they lost. They're losers. There they go. There is no like, oh, but they lost and they got 3 points out of that one. Well, they'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'll ever leave preferring the GSL StarCraft 2 group stage format where, every night you got your own, it was its own self-contained storyline of this person, 4 players face off, you get a loser's bracket, you get a finals game from the 2 that win, and then you get a loser's bracket to get your other winner that leaves the group. And it was just so nice and easy to understand. Whereas we got 7 weeks, I believe, was the total amount of weeks of CCL's first season here of constantly shifting up the teams and having them play each other and whatnot. Which
there's also player drafts and changes in there that happen after the players are drafted.
Yeah, which I got to say, not my jam at all.
I thought it would be, if we're being a little critical here. I thought I might enjoy that because I really enjoy the sort of hockey football thing that happens where players change teams. It's big and scandalous, and I think it's an interesting strategy game.
I think it becomes more interesting once you've had your first season. Because we used to talk about it with HGC. It was like, oh, geez, so-and-so left and went to this team. Because you have a baseline understanding of who belongs where and their connections to their teammates, right? But we had such a long break between, you know, everyone watching the same league in Heroes that it didn't work for me. It didn't mean much to me.
That's a good point.
But, you know, this is now, I've got my spectator hat on. Like, this is just me as a viewer, as a fan, commenting. So, yeah, but it should be interesting nonetheless. You know, this is much more straightforward. It's easier to wrap your head around. It is much easier to tell a story now, and that's when I think esports is at its best, and that's what we're heading into here with the CCL.
Exactly. So we're going to enter the round of 8 this weekend. Next weekend, we will start to get down into that round of 4. And then those will conclude in the grand finals, which is going to happen on January 23rd. So 2 weeks and 2 days from now is when you can expect, if you just want to see the best, the ones who made it all the way through the winners and losers finals, square off for the very end. And actually, I would say probably set your calendar to January 17th. January 17th will be the winners finals and the losers finals. And when in esports universe, those are usually the best games. The winners finals and the losers finals can sometimes create these weird vacuums where the two teams never really faced each other, and now there's going to be a stomp.
Yes, that can absolutely happen. So yeah, if you want to make sure you don't miss out on like what is probably the best matchups, you should start then, but still watch the grand finals, because sometimes it does work out, and you end up with these really, really close. You know, go to all. I think they're doing best of 5, or no, I think the grand finals are best of 7. But it goes to every game possible. You know, that's what you always hope for.
The wild thing will be that the winners finals and the losers finals are going to happen split. So the winners finals happen on the 17th. The losers finals happen on the 23rd. And in between there is when I'm expecting the balance patch to hit.
That is going to be funky for sure. But it also, it makes the final weekend a bigger event. So I like that they're splitting that up.
I agree.
I like that quite a bit. So, and I'm also glad like they're going to a bracketed system for the end here, because when it's purely point based, it's such a bummer, because sometimes you just know your winner after like your first damn round.
Yeah, they've got nothing to do in there but just kind of sit back and wait for the grand finals.
Yep. So tune in this weekend. It kicks off. Now, you want to take an email or two before we wrap this up?
I do.
Darkness stopped calling.
Does anyone else hear that buzzing?
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. If you are supporting us on Patreon, you can just message us directly in the patron Discord, or also on Patreon. People forget you can do that. So figured I would remind you that you can do that as well. But Lupus writes in and wants to know, what happened to Dahaka? I am an offlane main, and although I love the dinosaur, mostly in coordinated play where he gets the most value for me, it seems this meta isn't too kind to him. He suffers versus Diva, Gazlo, and against the 2 in vogue DPS picks of Cassia and Tychus. I think Chromie is also pretty in vogue right now, but yeah. Even still, it seems like he'd at least be powerful because of his global when timed well, despite not being amazing at double soaking. But his buffs haven't seemed to move the needle enough to approach a good win rate. Are we all crazy and in need of shaking up the essence of how we play Dahaka? Well done. Or do we just need to bide our time till the backline dive and double soak offlaner meta subsides? I've always seen Dahaka as a map pick, Kyle, and am I crazy in that? Because he seems so dependent on good bush placement.
He is, but when we look at win rates, we see things like Volskaya and Towers of Doom. And from my experience, speaking to Dahakas, this may not be every Dahaka's experience, they don't very much like those bushes on those particular maps. I've heard a lot of naysaying on the bush placement or vent placement on Volskaya. I mean, Hanamura definitely 100% makes sense. I would not want to be solo lane Dahaka, isolated by myself for that long. I would not want to be instructed to go take a camp by any regard. I hate the bushes there. And they wouldn't be as useful, particularly if one side gets pushed out either back or forward. That's a 36% win rate for him in our current patch.
He would have probably shined on Warhead Junction had we ever liked it before it got tunnels.
Yeah, and I think he too even has a place like Falstad and Brightwing have, even though they can be a little weird on Braxis, because a global there still opens up some strategies, and it's always nice to visit your solo lane from time to time. They enjoy it.
Yeah.
Stop on by. Cursed Hollow at 45%. I'm not going to naysay because I just don't think there's a lot of Dahakas playing right now. And I don't think the Dahaka mains are playing Dahaka right now. When you compare him to the power creep of Bruisers, his tongue is just too disappointing to miss and too hard to hit. I don't want it to be any different, frankly. So what I would target as his main issue right now, if I were to fix Dahaka, just in my armchair designer, and I'm actually sitting in a chair now, so I'm going to do it. I would put Tunneling Claws as passive. It's a level 16 talent, sure, but it has a very high pick rate and a lower win rate than the other picks. So why not give him that edge?
Let's get him move while burrow talent. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. God, I always forget. So I don't play Dahaka. I probably have less than double-digit games logged because I missed a few tongues, and you're right. It feels horrible. But I continually forget that Tunneling Claws is not like it's even talent. It just seems like something he should have.
Well, and Burrow's great. It does a lot of really good things. It dodges a lot of important abilities. It allows you to let your heal over time essence or even the end of your adaptation complete. And it is an extremely important ability. It's still not as important as just knowing how to stick a toe in a bush as you're passing by. Race car Dahaka is a build and people say it's a lot of fun, but if you're not aware of how you can tickle the edge of a bush before moving on to get that movement speed, you're not really even going to feel the power of the build in the first place. But I think that in this current meta with Chromies, with Junkrats, it is too dangerous for someone like Dahaka to burrow because people can set up on top of him during that time. If we were in a different meta where dodging underground like Pyroblast meta, that is perfectly acceptable. And nothing horrible is going to happen to Dahaka versus Kael'thas. That wouldn't happen to any other hero who chooses to stand still for a time. But getting a Junkrat bomb placed just on the backside while you're chilling underground, getting your health back, is maximum disappointment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plus, Gazlo, Hogger bring that campability that Dahaka doesn't really have. And then our other extremes and high win rate bruisers like Deathwing and Diva bring something so unique and so outlandish and outrageous to team fights in the way they orchestrate the map. I think that he's just lost his edge. Look at Deathwing, a global hero who has unstoppable at all times. And tell me you want to be restricted to bushes when Deathwing can go anywhere he wants in sight.
Yeah. You make those are all good points, man. And his popularity is so low, 6% over the last two patches. Looking at Hotslogs, I think you're right. Like, to me, I used to see a Dahaka get picked and I was scared because it was this kind of remove your understanding of the term specialist from what it means in Heroes of the Storm. It was a specialist pick. Like I saw a Dahaka get picked and I go, damn, crap, you probably play the hell out of this. This is probably your main, and I'm probably going to get drug halfway across the map and die a horrible death 5 to 7 times in this game. As a result, and that seems to have gone out the window because now I see a Dahaka and I just go, cool, free kills, and I can't really point to what changed other than it does seem like the prowess or the quality of the average Dahaka player has fallen, and I think it's just he's out of he's old and moldy. He has fallen out of vogue, as you put it, dear emailer Lupus. I didn't have the email up at the moment. And yeah, so I don't think the seasoned Dahaka players are playing Dahaka at the moment. If I were to infer anything from this.
Well, he's got a 40% win rate in the CCL, so it's not horrible. There's just people doing his job better. And in fact, I got to fight, and rather regretfully, Glogan's Deathwing this week. And he cast everything over walls. Oh my God, it was horrible, dude. Imagine Molten Breath always fired behind a wall.
Is it just never being able to access the Deathwing?
you couldn't access, and the windups were canceled out because you didn't see the character during the windup animation.
He's playing artillery.
Yeah, the fire was already on you for something like Wicked Inferno. No, wait, hang on. Conflagration at 16. The fire was already on top of you by the time you even noticed it. And then you were already doing the mini molten flame explosions by the time you walked out of it. It was horrible. It was super duper cool. And what a way to compensate for that character's main weakness, which is that load up time. When you see the Deathwing, you have all the time in the world to deal with Earthshatter coming your way.
Yeah.
Earthshatter, right? Right?
I don't play Deathwing. Don't ask me what his things are called.
Worldbreaker, Earthshatter. Yeah, I did it.
Currently open.
I did it.
I don't know.
I really like him.
Yeah. But I'm with you on Tunneling Claws. And we talked about this last episode, right? Was who we would like to see get some love, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago in 2021. Adds a Haka to the list.
Well, and What Doth Life in Chat brings up an interesting point, which isn't, necessarily based on balance, just on feeling. Hogger can make terrain, but Dahaga can't make a bush. Like, terrain is extremely, extremely important to Hogger, and his ability to make that for himself. Hogger throws trash, and I guess it kind of works, and it's certainly a big part of the kit. I don't know if it would make sense for Dahaka to be a gardener, but he could put down like a smelly glob that makes steam that he could use. It doesn't have to be a bush. We have vents, after all. It'd just be a foggy fart.
You could find some way to make it make sense flavor-wise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kel'Thuzad can make his own glacial spike to chain 2. Who else is like this? Who else is highly dependent on something and they can make said something?
Well, Kel'Thuzad's an interesting stance because I can't believe it in the passage of time that we allowed the usage of enemy buildings. That is so insane. Like, of all the salt wall crazy things that have happened over the years, the idea that when you're winning, you'd be that much better is just psychotic.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
I barred that from my memory.
And it's funny, talking about lane clear and all these different hero abilities too. It's funny that something like Rag, he destroys my keep and goes into it and does Molten Core. My brain doesn't say, oh, that's just the worst. It's loud, it stings, it can do really good core damage if he's making sure all 3 stacks of his flames land on top of things. But I rarely think to myself that that's broken. That shouldn't be.
It's you're not getting stun locked, right? Like you were in the old Kel'Thuzad example.
Yeah, that's true.
Dragged. You're not almost guaranteed to die to that rag. Like it stinks. Like, yeah, it's everything you described as the downside was more to your buildings, and yeah, that is an upside for sure. But you still get to have some control over what happens to you when that rag molten cores.
We also have a highest win rate on Hero Stalker. Pick rate is 53% compared to a 7% and a 38% on our other level 4 talents. That could be a thing to look at too. If the majority of Dahakas want to get their essence via takedowns rather than farming lanes, the fundamental design of the character and his essence might be an issue.
That is interesting. One who collects has a good pick rate, but has way lower win rate.
It's not horrible, but it's 50% to minions. And when you want big essence to continue a long fight, Hero Stalker is the way to go.
Yeah. Interesting.
But for my own fun, for my own interest, I think Tunneling Claws would be great. I honestly hate drag, and it stops me from just enjoying the character, but I don't want it any other way.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with old Dahaka. Valkymer wrote in, had a couple of questions here. We're going to start with this one. Kyle mentioned 19th to the 21st of January for his predicted patch date. I'm curious as to why this number and not next week. Kyle Belial.
It is merely based entirely off of Heroes patch notes in the past. This is the date when Deathwing's balance hit. We had a long Christmas meta last year, waiting around for that. Let's see. I can pull it up here right now. So we had our 2019 patch hit on the 17th. This was the bug fixes to queue times. Okay, so we have to go to that was a toys event. Last year hit on the 16th of December, and we had to wait all the way until the 22nd of January 2020 to see any balance to Deathwing, who was running rampant. To me, it's a perfect mirror of what's happening with Hogger.
And yet, I wouldn't say Hogger's running rampant.
No, because of his difficulty to use. He's also just not as enjoyable, I think, in quick match. Deathwing was a force, and
also, are you ready for a car analogy?
Okay,
not a sexy man. Deathwing and just the appeal, the raw appeal of like looking at it. It's just like seeing a hot new sports car for the first time. Although Deathwing's probably more like if you're really into Hummers because he's giant and armored. And then Hogger comes out and you're like, I respect it. I respect it for everything that it is, but it's just not as hot and sexy. It needs a better coat of paint and a bigger spoiler.
Let's see. I need to take the time a bit bigger here. Deathwing spiked in January 2020.
What do you mean spiked?
Spiked in Google Trends, anyway.
Ah.
So the factor of popularity for Deathwing, if it's 100, Hogger reached maximum 66.
I can tell you, we saw Hotslog's traffic peter out a lot quicker with Hogger than we did with every other new hero.
Interestingly enough, while I'm here, Deathwing is loved in South Dakota and Wyoming and Oregon, whereas Hogger is searched for more in Minnesota, Arkansas, and South Carolina.
People love their Knowles.
Apparently.
They know what they want, and they want hyena people. What a strange factoid. Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Google Trends. Valk also had an off topic. It might also, this could be on topic depending on how you answer question. And wants to know what New Year's resolutions and goals we have. And also wants to know which ones have been given up now 7 days in, and which one have the best likelihood of surviving the year. Kyle, I'll go right away. I don't usually make New Year's resolutions, but I did think to myself, I should probably not drink as much on weekdays, and that's already out the window for obvious reasons.
Well, we have, where we move, we have a big running trail in the back, so I can't say we've started, but I wouldn't declare I've failed yet either. It has been raining a lot, and boy, people run here in the rain in Oregon, and I commend them. But I am not interested.
I hate
frankly.
running in the rain, man. It gets in your eyes. Like, it's better. If I'm out and I get caught running, I get caught out in the rain, God, it's like sunglasses down, but now I can't see, but at least there's less water in my eyes.
Well, and I would regulate by wearing shorts and the windbreaker jacket up top, right? Because I'm going to get hot running. And I want to make sure the leg circulation is supplying the coolness. But then once those legs get wet, it just sounds like, oh, my hair would be wet. I'll play some video games. So that's the one that is hanging in the air right now. I'm doing good. I brought this up months ago. I'm doing great on my workout goals. I've been doing great on my post Flynn is 1 year old diet goals and getting back to all that sort of stuff. So I've been doing really good there, and that'll continue, and not based on the new year at all. When it comes to Heroes of the Storm, I've already started it, and it's with Garrett. I wanted to learn how to play Assassin. I wanted to actually get in there, get an account where I could practice that and not be stuck on tank all the time. And maybe it'll teach me other lessons. Maybe I'll become a better Garrosh because I know what Malthael and Greymane like to look for. But ultimately, I just want to experience a side of the game that I haven't in years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. If anyone's curious of a window into my life, both my wife's birthday and my birthday are in January, so we don't we don't make shit for for resolutions in terms of health or anything, because we want to enjoy our birthdays. So, and then we don't usually start running again until the time change because we hate running it when it's dark. So, what happens, Kyle, is I just continue the holiday eating and enjoying myself up until the end of January. February starts salads. March starts running again.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, there's nothing wrong with a little seasonal bodyscaping. And I think it is an insane product of, I don't know, People Magazine to make fun of like Thor and who's Aquaman. That was the one I really saw that bothered me.
Jason Momoa.
People were making fun of him on vacation.
Why?
Because he let his body go. He just got done with Aquaman. He was probably miserable and hungry the whole time. And people are making fun of him on vacation. Like, you do realize that it is not healthy to maintain that 24/7. You gotta ebb and flow. You gotta have bulk seasons and whatnot.
Oh, there's who's the actor from It's Always Sunny with his quote about getting in shape. That it's easy as long as you have tons of production budget thrown to personal trainers to keep you on track 24/7.
Yeah, Mac, and that was an impressive body for sure. And the best thing about that show is that they made the joke that nobody cared. Because that was a lot of hard work. Oh my God. I see images of Thor flipping tires, giant tires. It just looks exhausting. It'd be the only thing I would do that day.
Yeah, no, I usually enjoy myself from December to January, and then February I start to course correct with what I eat, and then March I start to course correct with actually becoming physically active again.
See, this is a healthy discussion. That maybe we shouldn't put so much focus on the new year. Maybe we should set off fireworks whenever we want.
I think everyone is different, Kyle. We're all snowflakes, Kyle.
That's true.
Find your melting point.
That's marketable.
Is it? Because it would be like the snowflake dies. It's probably not the best analogy.
Nah, I could see it on a building that advertises, has Pilates weekends and stuff.
I get so irritated with like tips like do your hardest work at 2:00 because that's when you're the most alert, and I'm like, that's when I start mentally checking out for the day.
Dude,
my hardest work is
different.
tackled first thing out of bed in the morning, or it is not getting done.
You know what society would look like if everyone was efficient at the same time?
What?
Well, it'd probably be okay, but yeah.
I think it'd be perfectly fine. It'd be great. It'd be the best time to go for a drive because everyone would be getting work done. It's not the worst thing. And if that does work for you, that's great. I'm just saying, like, don't get too hung up on like generalizations like that. Like, it's a new calendar date. It's arbitrary. Do what works for you.
This isn't us ragging Valkymer for their question, though. It was a fun question.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. If that was, it started to come off that way. That was not my intention. No, I was just giving you a real personal answer. I don't usually really do New Year's resolutions. It was like I think it was 2013, maybe 2012. Was like the only time we ever decided on a thing. Is like, we're going to stop bringing soda into the house. And that's when Katie and I both lost a lot of weight. And we have kept soda out of the house ever since. Still enjoy it on weekends. We have Red Bulls for Fridays. I had mine today. I'm exhausted and I had to do this show. That's it. That's the only time I've ever like made any sort of edict and actually stuck to it. That's it. Everything else is just I do what I need to when I need to do it. So there you go. But yeah. Thanks you for your questions, everybody. Keep them coming. itncast@gmail.com. I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. So that was fun. Some good questions there. Also, huge thank you. Thank you, everyone who's supporting us on Patreon. Thank you to our patrons. Big thanks to our producers, Declan H., Cheesy Bob, Chris K., Mike C., and Sean B. Thank you very much for your support, everyone. If you want to catch the back catalog of Into the Nexus episodes, check out amove.tv. They are all on there. I wish I could like make a randomized tool where we just shuffle and start playing an old ITN episode so I could see what randomly just have the meta of like 4 years ago thrown at me. See what like it was all about. When you were going through old after show games, Kyle, the other day. This is a few weeks ago. That was wild. I was like, when did I play Zeratul? I don't remember this at all. At all. It was nuts. But you can do that over at amove.tv. You can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. You can catch us live Thursdays on twitch.tv/amovetv. Come join our wonderful chat room. Make some friends. But before we leave, both Kyle and myself make stuff outside of Into the Nexus. Kyle, where can everyone find your stuff?
You can find me over at kylefergusson.com, where I do a lot of Heroes content for YouTube, but you can also find my Dungeons and Dragons content, which is expanding. This week, I'm going to take over as Dungeon Master on the Frog Pants show There Will Be Dungeons. Very much looking forward to getting to be, Dungeon Master? I get to make up stuff. It's my favorite role, frankly.
I was gonna say you're very passionate about DMing. Like it's a thing that comes out when we're off air and on air. So it's nuts. It's like me and cars or cocktails. It's like, yeah, the analogies are on the show, and I'm not just doing a bit. These are just things I really like outside of the subject at hand. So, yeah,
I'm very excited about it. It is going to be a 12-episode season. So if you've caught other D&D shows before and you're like, man, 3-hour episodes, those are crazy. Also, this thing's been going for 200 episodes. I don't know if I can invest. This will be a whole new adventure over there on There Will Be Dungeons, and it'll only last for a season of 12 episodes. There may be other seasons, of course, if we continue, but it'll be nice and digestible.
Nice. Dude, I miss it. We had 2 years of a Star Wars campaign going, and I want to find a reason to get back to it.
The internet still hasn't quite caught up. There are, of course, your old tools like Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds, but I'm sad to say that it's really hard to find the tool that's perfect for your home game during these still separate times. I love DMing in person.
Yeah. Well, folks, anyways, go check that out. I'm excited for you, man. I'm gonna tune in for that. You can find me on Twitter at GarrettArt, amove.tv for not only this podcast, but every single other one that I produce. Just posted a new episode of The Angry Chicken. Just posted a new episode of WoW Killer. If you're unfamiliar with that, I have another WoW show. I know I guess on the instance, but I have my own show, WoW Killer, that I do with Taliesin, where we talk World of Warcraft. I've been really enjoying Shadowlands. I think it's one of the stronger expansions across WoW's entire history. So you want to hear my thoughts on that? Check out WoW Killer, available wherever podcasts can be found. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. However you get the show, I'm glad that you're getting it, and thank you so much for supporting us. Until next time, good luck and have fun.
Take care.